What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the City Life Project YouTube channel for yet another picks and predictions video. We're back in Japan, RIZIN.46. And what's special about this card is it not only features a collaboration with one promotion, but it's collaborating with two. That's right, RIZIN.46 also featuring a RIZIN vs BKFC fight, as well as a handful of RIZIN vs Road FC top Korean promotion, which is also doing great stuff as well. I know a few exciting bouts on this card fell through, but it's a nice 10-fight true fighting federation card, given that two other promotions are being featured on it, and if the BKFC fight delivers, or if they continue to dabble with BKFC, if the Japanese can handle the blood, I think we see BKFC Japan sooner than later, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe even as soon as 2025. Like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's dive into my picks and predictions as we preview RIZIN.46. Starting with the first fight on the card, we have Taisei Nishitani against Ryu Takagi. Nishitani 6-6 as a pro. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but he lost his last fight. 27 years of age, going up against Takagi, who's 6-2 as a pro, but he also lost his last fight. I am going with Takagi. He is the favorite at a whopping -425, and if you go through his record, you will see why. This is a Pancrase versus Deep matchup here, where the Pancrase fighter in Ryo Takagi is just way better. He's fought and beat better guys. He's younger. He's powerful. He has 5 knockouts on 5 KO TKOs on his resume. 5 first-round finishes as well in his 6 total wins. So unbelievable stat there. And Nishitani, I know this is the Deep versus Pancrase matchup, but Nishitani just wasn't good in Deep, man. He just wasn't good in Deep, going 6-5 in the promotion. At least he was over 500. I'm not picking him to win this one, and I don't think he's a good underdog either. All right, let's get to the next one, where we have an interesting matchup here. Sora Yamamoto against Ilkhom Nazimov. Now, Ilkhom Nazimov is from Uzbekistan, but he does train out of Russia. He's 10-3 as a pro, and he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights, going up against the young 23-year-old Japanese fighter who has a lot of experience, but I'm just going to call it for what it is. He's not that good in comparison, okay? 16-9-2 as a pro, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, and he's lost his last 3. And I would say 2 out of the last 3 were good opponents. One was 3-0, man. You gotta beat those guys. Yamamoto, 3 KO TKOs, 10 submissions, 3 decisions. And he's 3-3 in RIZIN. Where you look at Nazimov, 10-3, 29 years of age. So in his prime, 4 KO TKOs, 3 decisions, 3 submissions. Very balanced resume. 1-0 in RIZIN, so he's making his 2nd appearance, and he's 3-1 in World Combat Self-Defense Association. Yeah, I'm going with Nazimov. He's -210, so he is the favorite, but not by an astronomical amount. Trains in Russia, balanced skill set, good wins in some solid regional shows. He's fought in UAE Warriors a couple times. He's fought in EFC, and that weird Russian league that we just mentioned. I've never heard of that one before. He has power, straight knockouts. Also, he's pretty good at grappling. Definitely an awareness on the ground. Look, the Japanese kid, he's got some good submissions. He's got some good groundwork, but just unproven against really, really bad opponents is who he dominates on the ground. He has the experience, but it's not even close to the level of competition that this Uzbekistani fighting out of Russia has faced and defeated. So I'm going with Nazimov. Let's get to the next one. We have mystery BKFC fighter against Tatsuki Shinotsuka. Now, Tatsuki Shinotsuka last fought in the open finger gloves, the small gloves, the MMA gloves, in a RIZIN small gloves kickboxing match, which was awesome. We didn't see a knockout like I predicted, when we had the We Are RIZIN podcast boys on the show, which, by the way, they did a breakdown to this video as well, so go check that out. He did score a knockdown, not once, but I believe twice in that fight. He's fun, he clowns, and he does have power. I think he was a great option for RIZIN, at least to throw somebody in there. Now, I do not know who the fighter is. It's a mystery fighter. It's a mystery fighter, ladies and gentlemen. However, if it is a fighter who even has one fight in BKFC, I'm picking the mystery fighter to win. Just because they have experience. Now, I'm excited for BKFC to partner with RIZIN. I'm excited for BKFC to dip their toe and hopefully step into the Japanese market, because I think it will be nothing short of incredible. I really do. I really do. And I think there's just some guys, some savages over there who will just fit. Just like some have been fitting from Thailand, I feel like some are going to fit from Japan. So I'm really excited for it. I think it will be a good fight overall, and hopefully it entices some other savages on RIZIN's roster to want to dip their toe in as well. Let's move on to the next one. Back to MMA, where we have Yoshiki Nakahara up against Viktor Kolesnik. Kolesnik, 28 years of age, out of Russia. He's 25, 6-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Going up against Nakahara, who's 18-6, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, 31 years of age. Nakahara formerly fought in 1 championship. He has 8 KO TKOs, 1 submission, 8 decision, and 1 disqualification win. 3-1 in RIZIN, 3-1 in 1 championship. Beaten 11-8 guy in his last fight via decision. Before then, lost to Chihiro Suzuki. Got knocked out in the first round. Before then, was on a hell of a run. Was on a 4-fight win streak. Beat a 7-3 guy in RIZIN via soccer kick. Beat a 15-8 guy. And then in his last 2 1 championship fights, beat a 6-2 guy and a 17-0 Ruslan Amilbek. That is right. He beat Amilbek back in 2021, and he knocked him out in the first round. So he's actually a very, very good fighter, but he's going up against a smothering Russian who honestly has power and pretty good hands as well. Like you said, Viktor Kolesnik, 25, 6-1. 7 KO TKOs, 8 submissions, 10 decisions, 2-0 in RIZIN, 4-2-1 in M1, 4-1 in Tech Crep Fighting Championship, and 3-0 in NCP. So he's been all over the place. He's on an unbelievable run right now. 7-fight win streak. His last guy he beat was a 6-1 guy. Before then beat 9-6. Then split decision with 15-4. He's good. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. He went on a finish streak between 2020 and 2022, where he fought 6 guys, but out of his 5 wins, 5 straight finishes. He is good. It's just when he goes up against better competition, he doesn't finish them as easy as he does everybody else. Whereas Nakahara, he can finish the best of the best and the low level. Kolesnik, just entering his prime though, well-rounded. I'm going with Nakahara. I'm going with Yoshiki Nakahara on this one. He is my favorite underdog on this card. He's coming in at plus 115. He's got a great step back right. He only recently lost to the champ in RIZIN, who is proven now. All the questions about, is Suzuki just a kickboxer with power? No, he's well-rounded now. Solid striking, and he can get into brawls. He can take a few good shots as well. Doesn't get despite him not getting a lot of submissions, he doesn't get submitted that easily. And again, Kolesnik, very balanced resume. He's well-rounded as well. 6-fight finish streak. My apologies, I said 5. 6-fight finish streak between 2020 and 2022. But I still think Nakahara is just maybe at the same level as him right now, but his experience fighting better guys is going to show through here. He hasn't fought anybody that hasn't possessed the tool set that Kolesnik has. So Nakahara, that's my favorite underdog on the card. Let's freaking go on to the next one. We have the American fighting out of Tokyo, Japan, Mma Bkfc up against Yusaku Inoue. Now, Mma Bkfc, primarily a kickboxer, longtime kickboxer, is 28 years of age, going up against the 35-year-old MMA veteran Yusaku Inoue, who's 11-4-1 as a pro. So not the worst resume. 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and he won his last fight. 7 KO TKOs, 1 submission, 3 decisions, 0-1 in 1 championship, 1-0 in RIZIN. Primarily fought in Pancrase and Shuto. One of those guys, though, with kind of a padded record. He beat really, really bad opponents, and we're talking like 2-18 guys, and a bunch of guys making their debuts. And even as of late, like, hasn't been super active. Took a lot of time off between 2018, where he fought in 1 championship, then came back in 2023, got a win, but against an 8-10 guy. So like, there's MMA experience there, but like, is he back training full time? We shall see, because in fairness to him, he's active now. During the World Sickness, he didn't fight, but he's active now. So we shall see. This isn't a bad matchup, because they're putting an older guy coming back into the sport against a older guy, quote unquote, in kickboxing, a guy who's had a pretty decent or pretty long kickboxing career up to this point. Not extremely long, but a kickboxing career up to this point, getting into MMA, turning the page, and at a good time too, at 28 years of age, not in your 30s. He's 1-3 in MMA though. He's 1-3 in MMA on a 2-fight losing streak. He's not good at mixing the martial arts. He's good at his one martial art, and that is kickboxing, ladies and gentlemen. He's 1-3 in RIZIN. He lost his last MMA fight. He lost his last 2 MMA fights and his last 2 kickboxing fights. So he hasn't gotten a win since 2021. He did get an awesome first MMA win against a 10-5-1 guy, but it's just been downhill from there. He fought primarily in a Rise, where again, he had some really, really good fights. Not a lot of finishes, but some really, really good fights when he was younger. I don't know if the switch to MMA was necessarily the right decision. Inoue's older though. Yeah, getting back into it, but fought a can. I'm not saying Bkfc is a can. He's not a good opponent, but he's a dangerous striker. So like, I don't mind this matchup. Actually, I like this matchup from the RIZIN matchmakers, because it kind of makes sense, you know. A guy who has one thing that's really dangerous, and that's his striking. That's his big tool, going up against an older guy who has the mixed martial arts background, who has all the tools, who's been there, done that, but getting back into the sport, and who really wasn't that great in his prime anyways. The betting odds are close on this one as well. I think Bkfc is a good underdog as far as the knockout or just winning the fight, but I'm picking the favorite. I'm picking the MMA guy. We're going team MMA on this one. I'm going Yusaku Inoue. But again, Mma Bkfc knockout. If you can get that at plus money, you might as well drop a little sum on that. Inoue doesn't have a lot of submissions. He strikes a lot, 7 KOs. He's also dangerous. Now, I know Mma Bkfc kickboxing doesn't hit as hard as even Inoue maybe in the small gloves, right? Because Inoue's proven to knock guys out, a lot of guys out in the small gloves. Mma Bkfc just won. Now, a guy who was a lot better than him, but just won. And even in kickboxing, he didn't knock out a bunch of guys. He was mostly a decision guy. I think Inoue will win on the feet and or on the ground. So wherever this fight goes, Inoue should win this one. Mma Bkfc could crack him, which is why, like, if you can get the knockout at plus money, you're probably going to win a little cha-ching. Probably going to take a little sum to the bank. But as far as my picks go, as far as being correct in my picks, and I've been doing pretty good on RIZIN lately, and RIZIN's not an easy one to predict. No RIZIN card is easy to predict. That's one of the reasons why I love this promotion so much. But we're going with Inoue. Let's get to the next one. Fight number 1 of the RIZIN vs. Road FC series, ladies and gentlemen. And honestly, I'm pretty satisfied. I'm excited for these matchups, especially this first one, where we have Yang against Kazuma Kuramoto. Korea versus Japan. Kazuma Kuramoto, 10-4 as a pro. However, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Lost his last 2, but to pretty good competition. 37 years of age, so he's a lot older than the 28-year-old Yang out of Korea, who's 8-1 as a pro, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and on a freaking 3-fight win streak. Let's take a look at the Korean here. 3 KO TKOs, 2 submissions, 3 decisions. 2-0 in RIZIN, 6-1 in Road FC. Coming back to RIZIN upon going on a little run in Road FC. Beat 4-4 guys, 7-1 and 12-14 in his last 3 fights. I don't like getting a split decision against a 12-14 guy, but he absolutely dominated the 7-1 guy and knocked out the 4-4 guy. So that's what you want to see. Overall, his resume isn't that bad. It's nothing special, but it's not that bad. He did fight some good amateur guys when he was an amateur, going 5-0 on the amateur scene as well. Kazuma Kuramoto, 10-4, 7 KO TKOs, 0 submissions, but he's never been submitted, okay? 3 decisions, 3-3 in RIZIN, 7-1 in Shuto. Lost to Shinobu Ota, who's very, very good wrestler, and lost a decision to a 31-10 guy before then. But honestly, for the most part in RIZIN and his last little run in Shuto, he's fought the best of the best that they were able to offer. 10-5 guys, 22-10, 15-4, 15-8, 17-8, 14-7 guys, 23-11, 31-10. You know, like, not bad, especially for the Asian MMA scene where we see, as you're even hearing throughout this predictions video here, sometimes these guys, they gotta fight those who are available, right? And sometimes their records, they ain't the best. You know what? Kuramoto is a very, very fun underdog that I am certainly dropping a little something on, especially at plus 190. But my official pick is Yong Yang. Now, when I was watching some tape on both these guys, I admittedly saw Yong Yang's first and was like, oh man, easy first win for Road FC. I now retract that. It's not going to be an easy first win for Road FC. I do think Road FC takes the first one in this best of 3. I think he's just more well-rounded. Now, Kuramoto has good submission defense, but he hasn't gone up against guys who are as much of a grappling or submission threat. And when they were, he got out-wrestled. He just didn't get out. He just didn't get put out or finished, right? I will say, though, Yang only lost to a scary grappling heavy ACA guy. That's not what Kuramoto's going to do to him. He's got KO power. He is a submission threat. Kuramoto has KO power as well, but he is a little bit slower in his just general movement. Not necessarily his hands, but I do think they're slightly slower. But he does have knockout power. Fought better guys, but he himself is just not as well-rounded offensively. Although I have to give him credit for never being submitted in his career. At plus 190, he's a great underdog, but for my official pick, we are going with Road FC on this one, Yong Yang. Let's get to the next one in this series. Next, we have the former title challenger Makoto Shinryu up against Hyun Lee. Shinryu representing RIZIN, Hyun Lee representing Road FC. Makoto Shinryu 16-2-1, and he's 23 years of age. He's 3-1 no contest and 1 loss in his last 5 fights. The no contest came actually in Bellator when we were doing RIZIN versus Bellator, and him and Horiguchi were fighting for the Bellator belt. They did the rematch in RIZIN after Bellator was acquired by the PFL, and Kyoji Horiguchi made quick work of Shinryu, showing that there's still levels to this and that he still has a lot to learn before he wants a big boy belt. Now, Shinryu is no stranger to gold, is no stranger to belts, as he is the former Deep champion, as well as the former Cage Fury FC champion, where he came into Cage Fury FC for 1 fight to fight for the title and got the submission. So prove that he can win titles on the amateur scene in North America in one of the best promotions in North America in Cage Fury FC. Regional promotions, that is. Regional promotions in North America. And one of the better regional / second banana promotions in Japan in Deep. He was a champion there as well. And now with RIZIN to further develop before we see him on either a Dana White Contender Series down the road or road to UFC. 0 KO TKOs, 4 submissions, 12 decisions for Shinryu's 3-1 in RIZIN, 1-0 and 1 no contest in Bellator, and he was on a hell of a run before he lost to Horiguchi. 10 fight win streak where he won titles in Deep, Cage Fury FC, got wins in Bellator, as well as a fight in Pancrase, 2 fights in Pancrase as well. Unbelievable stuff by the young Japanese prospect, going up against a prospect out of Korea who's 21 years of age, but just coming into pro mixed martial arts. He's 4-1 as a pro. Won his last fight though, but just has not fought anyone of note. And I'm just going to say it, hasn't fought good competition yet. And now he's going up against the RIZIN former title challenger, the former Deep champion, the former Cage Fury FC champion. Like, oh my goodness, this is a massive step up in competition for the young man. 4-0 in road, which is awesome. He went up against a guy making his debut and he head kicked him. It was beautiful in the first round. It was an awesome highlight, but again, it was a guy making his debut. When he took a step up in competition against an 8-1 guy, he lost a decision. Now, he wasn't submitted. He wasn't absolutely dominated in the fight, which was good to see, but he did lose a decision. Before then, he beat a guy who was 11-11. Who he went to a decision with when he was 2-0. When he was 1-0, he fought a 4-8 guy who he knocked out. Like, again, I'm not going to judge a guy on his opponents until he hits, like I always say, 5 or 6 professional fights. But at this point, when you're going to take on Shinryu, when you're going to represent Road FC in this series, man, there's a lot of pressure on this young man's shoulders. And I'm not surprised that Shinryu is the massive favorite at -800. I'm taking the favorite here. Again, Deep champ, Cage Fury FC champs, fought in Bellator, fought in RIZIN, way more experience, fought in Pancrase. Very, very good grappling. Now, his striking leaves a lot to be desired. But again, he's still 23 years of age, so he does have to watch out for those kicks that Jung Hung Lee likes to throw. He's just a stocky fire hydrant of a Korean kid. Actually got some muscle on him as well. Doesn't just look like he's on the tteokbokki diet. Shinryu has fought good and experienced competition. Three out of his last 5 wins have been by decision. 3 out of his last 5 wins have been by submission as well. Hyun Lee's had a good amateur career, good finish in his last fight, but he's just crushed cans, and I'm not going to blame him for it. He's still young, only 5 professional fights. Took a step up in competition, which I give him credit for, but he lost, and this is another huge test. So if he gets this done, oh my goodness, we got to keep our eye on this young Korean. Getting my caffeine in for the 2 a.m. start. On to the next one. Featured fight of the night and the last fight of the Road FC versus RIZIN series. This one's a great fight. This one's a great fight, ladies and gentlemen. Taichi Nakajima up against Chul Kim. Oh man, this fight's gonna be awesome. Chul Kim, 21-7-1 as a pro. He's 32 years of age, up against Nakajima, who's 17-12-1, but don't let his record fool you. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights on a 2-fight win streak. Yeah, he's 35 years of age, but man, this guy is good. Let's take a look at Nakajima here, representing RIZIN, representing Japan. 4 KO, TKO, 3 submission, 10 decision. Has fought in ACB, where he went 2-3, 1-1 in RIZIN, and has also had an illustrious career in Pancrase. Before and after his ACB run, his last 2 opponents were actually really good as well, getting 2 unanimous decision victories against a 17-6-3 guy and a 7-1 Ryo Tajima before that. His only 2 losses recently have come to Vugar Karamov, the former champ, and a 26-5 Isayo Kobayashi, who beat him unanimous decision at Pancrase 321. So like, he still got it, man. He still got it. A valiant effort in all his fights, and he still can get it done, still in his mid-30s, going up against a dangerous and really fun fighter in Chul Kim. 21-7-1, like I said, 32 years of age, 7 KO TKOs, 6 submissions, 8 decisions. Very well-balanced resume. He's never been knocked out. He's been submitted 3 times and he's lost 4 decisions. 2-3 in one championship, 2-0 in RIZIN, and he's 0-1 in Bellator. But man, he's fought everywhere. He's on a 3-fight win streak right now, beating a 9-4 guy, 19-3, and 8-4 guy. All 3 in Road FC. And his last 2 losses were to freaking Juan Archuleta and Hyun Park. Hyun Park and Road FC was 8-1 at the time. Other than that, he was undefeated between 2013, where he actually lost to Bibiano Fernandez, funny enough. He was undefeated between 2013 and freaking 2021. Unbelievable run for Chul Kim. And he is the favorite in this one at -325. He is my pick as well. But, like, do not count out Nakajima. I got 3 parlays I'm going to share with you guys at the end of this video, so stay tuned until the end. And Nakajima is definitely in 1 or maybe even 2 of them. And stay tuned. This is a great fight. This is a great matchup. I'm going with Chul Kim. I think he's just a little bit better. I think he just has a little bit more in his toolkit. I think he's just has a little bit more gas left in the tank, a little bit less wear and tear, and he's just powerful and scary, man. Both are well-rounded, both have fought in good promotions, but I think Chul Kim just has the edge. It's just a little bit better, has just fought a few better opponents and is still just looking better fighting as a pro mixed martial artist. Last 3 wins were great. Wins over former RIZIN Grand Prix and Tough winner, only loss in Okikubo, only loss recently to the former champ and an 8-1 guy, like I said. Nakajima also fought in good promotions, 3-2 in his last 5 against solid guys, and it's not like he was getting absolutely destroyed. Like, he was only put out in a triangle choke by Karamov, and I don't blame him for that. That's how the champ wins. He grapples, he submits his opponents. The former champ, I should say. So Nakajima is a very good underdog at +250, ladies and gentlemen. Like, like I should play him, right? I should play him. I should play him. And I just might as far as betting, but as far as my official pick, I'm going with Chul Kim. Co-main event of the evening next. Back to MMA in just the RIZIN Fighting Federation. We have another awesome matchup in Juntaro Ushiku against Shinobu Ota. Shinobu Ota, Japanese Olympic wrestler, 5-3 as a pro. He is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. 30 years of age, going up against the Fighting Bull, who's 29, by the way, the former deep champ in Ushiku. 23-10-1. He's also 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and he also is coming off a win. I want to say both of them are coming off and have just received that Japanese layup fight, a tune-up fight, a term now said by MMA legend Rampage Jackson. Pride used to do it, Dream used to do it, and RIZIN does it now. Guys that they still want to promote, guys that they still want to build up, guys who they quite frankly do not want to lose. If they're coming off bad losses, if they're kind of in the gutter, if they're in a rut, they'll give you tune-up fights. They'll give you layup fights. And Ota and Yoshiki have just come off theirs respectively. Ota, 5-3 as a pro for the former Olympic wrestler. He's got 4 knockouts. Well, 4 KO TKOs. He's very good at taking his opponent to the ground, getting into a position where he can just get the finish, utilizes his knees well, the knees to grounded opponents. God, I love the superior rule set. North American rules are garbage. They're trash. I hate them. Pride never die, baby. But now we got elbows. Anyways, Ota's 5-3, coming off a win against Ryusei Ashizawa, who's a kickboxer, was making his MMA debut. Ota knocked him out twice, literally twice in that fight at RIZIN.45. Before then, he lost a split decision to Soko Sato, which I did not think he was going to lose that fight, and I'm pretty sure Ota cried. Before then, beat a 13-9 guy and 10-3, which were awesome wins. And one was a referee stoppage, one was a knockout. So, like, he did have a lot of helium before losing to Sato, which honestly kind of derailed his hype. The great finish, double finish. Again, he knocked out Ashizawa twice, man. The ref was full on Herb Dean sleeping. Honestly, it might have been Herb Dean now that I think about it. But anyways, his opponent, Ushiku, former Deep champ and RIZIN champ, where he held the titles at the same time before Kleber came in and stole it from him. 7 KO TKOs, 0 submissions, 16 decisions. He was a champ in Deep, had a great career in Pancrase, was the former champion RIZIN, now 3-2 in the mighty Japanese promotion. Beat a 7-7 guy in his layup of a tune-up fight after coming off losses to Asakura and Kleber. I mean, you fight 2 of the top guys respectfully in the promotion, in your division. No shame in that. He was on a 4-fight win streak before that in Deep and RIZIN, and his last loss before then in 2021 was to a 29-19 guy who's really good. Before then hadn't lost since losing to Yuta Sato back in 2018, who was 7-0 at that time. After that, he went on a 6-fight win streak, lost to Nakamura, 4-fight win streak, won titles in Deep and RIZIN, then lost to Kleber, Asakura, then the Japanese. Saki Kabara had to give him his tune-up fight. He got that, and now I like this matchup against the rising Shinobu Ota, who, again, had a long wrestling career and is now in MMA at 30, in his prime, ready to go, ready to get as many fights as he can under him, whereas Ushiku is just trying to get back up there, trying to climb back to title contention. I have the slight favorite in Juntaro Ushiku over Shinobu Ota. Now, again, Ota is a great underdog. He's a great underdog, especially at plus 140. I may have sprinkled a little some on him as well, and he may appear in our parlays at the end of this video, but Ushiku is just way more well-rounded. He has better striking. He does get submitted, but not easily. He's very capable on the ground, way more experienced, and he is younger in age than Ota. Like I said, they both were given layup opportunities. They both sunk the basket, and now it's time for one of them to build off the other's name. Shiku's a Deep and Pancrase star, as well as a champion in the mighty RIZIN. Ota is dangerous on the ground, not necessarily with his submission attempts, more so with his wrestling to get you in positions where he can knee you in the face, where he can land those elbows, where he can land those strikes. But because it's not straight jiu-jitsu offense, I think Ushiku does have good wrestling defense, enough to stay on his feet, enough to get into positions where he can get back up to his feet and force this into a striking battle where maybe Ota will overcommit and be tagged by like a counter step back, left, or uppercuts in the clinch by Ushiku. Very good underdog is Ota, but I'm going with Ushiku as my official pick. Main event of the evening. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we have Chihiro Suzuki up against the veteran who climbed his way back up to title contention in Masanori Kanehara. Masanori Kanehara, 31-14-5, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. That's right, he's on a 4-fight win streak, 41 years of age. Chihiro Suzuki, 12-3 in pro mixed martial arts, is the former / kind of still active kickboxer. He is 4-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. That one no contest coming to him losing by submission to Kleber in their title fight. That was not a title fight. Well, it was a title fight for Suzuki, but Kleber missed weight, so it was a no contest because Kleber won. If Suzuki would have won, it would have counted as a win and he would have been the new champion. But after that, beat Patricio Pitbull. Now, Pitbull took the fight on short notice, but he still beat him. He still knocked him out and then won the title, I should say, against Vugar Karamov in Karamov's backyard, ladies and gentlemen. He beat Karamov in Azerbaijan, which was amazing. And what I loved about Suzuki after that is he went and did like some work with the community instead of just going back to Japan that night and partying. No, he actually did some work with the community, took the belts into the community, even though like he wasn't the hometown guy who won. Just seems like a really good kid, a really good face for Japanese MMA. And man, I had my doubts about him in MMA. He's the champ, man. He silenced me in his last few fights. Again, beat Karamov in kind of a fluke win, but like he was allowed to knee him in the face, so he did. And it was fucking beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. Beat Pitbull, even a short notice Pitbull, and at his age, I should say, I thought was going to be better than Suzuki, outstrikes him. Still active in kickboxing in 2023, where he got a win at Knockout Super Belt Blaze, a first round knockout. And he's beaten some really good guys as well. 17-5, 39-21. Only lost when he was a 5-2. Recently, anyways, to an 18-4-1 guy. But Kanehara is no joke, man. And he's fought the best of the best as well. 11 KO TKO, 11 submission, 9 decision. He's fought in Sangoku Raiden Championship, fought 4-1 in RIZIN, 1-2 in the UFC, and 2-0 in K1. And he's on a freaking 4-fight win streak. His last win, he beat Kleber. That was a title contention fight. That was a top contender fight. Whoever won that fight was going to get the title shot next, and he beat Kleber unanimous decision. He beat Sora Yamamoto, who's 16-8. He beat Majima, who's 14-3, and he beat Ashita, who's 24-10. All of those guys, 4 wins, 2 finishes to get the title shot, and he's 41 years of age, ladies and gentlemen. It truly is incredible. Now, Suzuki has 6 knockouts, 1 submission, and 5 decision to his name. He's only been knocked out once, and he's only technically been submitted once, and that was, like I said, too clever. Man, this is another one where, like, Kanehara is an awesome underdog. Kanehara is an awesome underdog. This one's close. I've doubted Suzuki in his last 2 fights. I can't doubt him here again. I know Kanehara beat Kleber, but it was a unanimous decision. He was able just to, quite frankly, beat him on the feet, which is not hard against Kleber. Let's be perfectly honest. That's not his bread and butter. And he was able to defend enough and defend his submissions enough and out-wrestle him on the ground. It wasn't the most exciting fight, if I can recall correctly, but he did do enough to win. And I remember I was excited for Kanehara. I was excited for him. Suzuki is dangerous, though. That's the thing. Kanehara, he used to be dangerous. He's not as dangerous as Suzuki anymore. Furthermore, Kanehara has not won via submission since 2018, and it was against a guy making their pro MMA debut. That's right, a 0-0 guy. Suzuki beat a wrestlefucker. He beat a straight striker. He's beaten a jiu-jitsu guy. He's beaten everybody. He's beaten everybody in every style that RIZIN has been able to put in his path, and he's rightfully the champion. MMA disciple of Takanori Gomi, man. It's not like he doesn't know anything on the ground. Way younger, and he's not even in his prime yet, still at 24 years of age. Out of his last 7 wins, 5 of them were against legit and dangerous guys, grapplers, strikers, wrestlers, jiu-jitsu guys. Suzuki, man. If he continues to defend his belt, if he beats Kleber in their rematch, man, he's going to be a star. He's going to be a star. That's it for my overall preview, picks, and predictions. Here's 3 parlays that I have played. We're starting with our underdog parlay of the card, where I have Ota, Nakajima, and Kuramoto in a 3-fighter parlay. In my degenerate parlay, which I don't think it's going to hit, but it's fun to play regardless, I have Yamamoto, Nishitani, and Lee. In my safe parlay, which should hit unless something crazy happens, but this is RIZIN, I have Suzuki, Ji Young Yang, and Chul Kim. That is it for the predictions video, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Join us for the RIZIN Fight Companion Monday morning, as we will be covering it here on the channel. And I will see you there on Monday.